right. Hey, welcome back to the Talkin' to Teen show. And this here is for the girls. Okay. It doesn't mean guys can't listen to this because you probably will want to. And today, right now, we are going to talk about girls and dating. All right. So, guys, yes, you can listen up also because most of the time, guys, hey, you're dating a girl, aren't you? In this conversation, we are going to talk about what kind of guy to look for. Because remember, from what I'm saying is when you date, right? Hey, it should be because you plan to marry and you know what? That person. Not because you plan to marry. So you date and date and date for even that same person for 5, 10 years, or you date 20 people before you get married. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, hey, I want to get married now. Which, you know what? I have known people that have done that truly, where they dated forever. And then they didn't end up marrying each other, which, like you think, oh, they're definitely going to get married. They're definitely going to get married. And hey, I wonder when they're going to get married. I wonder when we're going to be invited to the wedding. And then there was no wedding. So, you know what? That happens too, doesn't it? Because, like I said, when you date, you want to date as if you're going to get married. And preferably, particularly, well, usually then it's because you want to marry that person that you're dating. So, ladies, when you are with a guy that either, and I'm just going to say, because sometimes maybe you aren't dating, maybe you are thinking about you want to have a boyfriend and you're not sure who it should be, all the prospects, all the guys lined up, which one do you want to choose? And sometimes, hey, here's what girls can do is you have a boyfriend, but you're like, gosh, I don't really know if I want to stay with him. So then you kind of flirt a lot with some guys because you kind of want to have the entourage, someone waiting in line. So when the relationship you're in right now, when that ends, you have someone waiting in line for you to choose from. And you're like, well, which one will it be? And then you pick another guy, like right after you just started dating. When you do that, it's because the relationship is your identity. And when you don't have a relationship, then you're thinking, oh my gosh, you almost panic and get anxiety because you don't have a boyfriend. That is how you know that the relationship is your identity. So when you are dating, maybe you're not dating, maybe you're thinking of dating, and now you want to have this whoever the guy is to be your boyfriend. And sometimes girls tend to then become boyfriend girlfriend with the guy because he likes her. She didn't even know he liked her. It's like, oh, well, hey, well, since you like me, I guess I'll be your girlfriend. Because he suddenly asked, you're like, oh gosh, I don't really know him. I don't really know anything about him. I barely know his name, but because he likes me, then count me in. I'll be your girlfriend. So sometimes that's what happens. Just because someone likes you doesn't mean you have to like them back. Maybe you want to get to know them a little bit before you say, sure, I'll be your girlfriend. But what was your name again? All right. That's how you know that, okay, maybe I should not be his girlfriend. So that's, something to think about. This can be a show that you watch now and maybe you're not even wanting a relationship, but it's something for you to think about. So when you do get in a relationship, does that make sense? Okay, I hope it does. All right. So, ladies, when you are in a relationship, how should you treat the guy? All right. So, we're going to talk about a few different things here on how you should treat the guy and how you should be treated from the guy. All right. So, those two things we're definitely going to talk about. And maybe, you know what, a few other things here. What I want to say then, ladies, is how you should be treated by a guy. And that is respectfully. But here's the thing, too, you have to respect yourself also. And I'm not giving the guy permission because you don't respect yourself for him just to take advantage of that. Okay. And because some guys will, definitely. And you have to remember a lot of guys, this is what they tell me all the time, is they will go as far as she lets him go. So if that's the case, then you are letting him inch by inch, is what tends to happen then, where even you left off with a lot of times the old relationship, the previous relationship, you generally will start there in your next relationship. So whether you're dating him or not, it doesn't mean that teenagers don't do things with people, with each other, you know? You know what I'm saying? So just because they're not your boyfriend, your girlfriend, it doesn't mean that you do not participate in extracurricular activities with that person. And where then a lot of times people think, well, I don't have to have a boyfriend in order to do that with them. I don't need a girlfriend because she's willing. She lets me do that anyway. That is, you know what? You're not respecting yourself. I'm not trying to encourage you to go be boyfriend girlfriend with each other so that you can do things with them like you're married, because I'm not saying that for sure. I'm not saying that. So do not go and do that. And don't be like, oh my gosh, well, that lady, Shawna, she said, no, she didn't. No, she didn't. So don't be acting a fool, okay? And thinking I said something that I didn't say because I didn't say it. But what I do want to say, ladies, with the respect thing, you definitely need to respect yourself. And here's how you do that: with the way you dress. Because some guys will think, well, she was asking for it by the way she was dressing, by everything she was showing me, because that's how he perceives when you're showing your finer qualities. Then he's thinking, oh, look at those. They're calling my name. So I better just go on over there and help him out a little bit. So, no, you know what? That is not the guy for you. And you should not want the guy that is doing that and talking that way and being that way to you. And generally, a guy that's like that does not want to be your boyfriend. He just wants to be participating in some action with you. And then generally that's about it. He probably won't even ask you your name. If he does, he's not going to remember it, and vice versa. So it's going to be generally the same for both of you. And sometimes people, that's not just a guy who's just out there and trying to get some action from someone. Girls can be the same way. But when a girl does that, isn't she more, doesn't she get labeled like a slut, a tramp, a whore, all of those things? She gets labeled that way, doesn't she? The guy might be a player. The guy might be where you're thinking, what a scum sucking pig, loser, but his reputation does not tank compared to what the girl does. And she really gets the bad rap compared to a guy. So, girls, you know what? Yeah, of course, you got to pay attention to that. So, you do need to watch the way you're dressing, because that really does reflect on yourself. It reflects on how you respect yourself because of the things that you are showing to guys. And it's not just guys that see that, of course, right? Everybody sees it. So it's the guys that are going to come up to you and going to try to get a piece of that, because sometimes they think that, well, that's what she wants. Well, you know what? And of course, most of the time, no, that's not the case. But then just don't dress that way. So respect is huge, isn't it? A big thing also is on how you can respect yourself is because you are respecting him and you respect what he is saying, and that it's okay for him to have an opinion, because sometimes girls, you tend to be bossy and very pushy. And yes, you can be pushy for sexual activity, but I'm more so saying pushy because you want your way. You want him to do exactly what you want him to do. And when he doesn't comply, then you get whiny and you get like pouty, and it's almost like, it's not fair. Why aren't you doing what I want you to do? Well, you know what? It's okay that he does not do everything you want him to do. Just because he doesn't, it doesn't mean that that is a bad relationship. All right. The healthy relationship doesn't exist because he does everything you want him to do. That on your part is wrong. And you should not be acting that way. You should not just be expecting your boyfriend, or even the guy that you want to date, that you are talking to, you should not just expect him to not have an opinion and to just do whatever you want, because no, sorry, that is, that's wrong. Okay. And also, when you are in a relationship or you're thinking that you want to be in a relationship and you're thinking, how should I be treated? Sometimes you don't have someone in your life either, okay, telling you how you should be treated by a guy. Sometimes your dad is not there showing you this is the way a guy should treat you. This is the way he should respect you. This is how I would expect the guy that's going to date my sweet, precious, beautiful daughter. This is how you, daughter, okay, should want him to treat you. You know what? There's a lot of dads that don't show their daughter how to be treated by a guy. And the guy, all right, ladies, he should be, yes, respectful, and you should be respecting yourself first and foremost, because then if he's not going to respect you, then you definitely need to be willing and ready to say, bye bye, later. I am not going to stay in a relationship like this because you don't have to. And it's not healthy, okay? Just because you want a boyfriend and you want to be dating someone because maybe everybody else has a boyfriend and you don't want to be the only one not having one, that should not be the reason why you just date because, the guy does not treat you right and he's mean, he's abusive, he's rude, he's disrespectful and calling you names. That is not a healthy relationship. That is not someone you should stay with because you want to have someone in your life. Well, hey, you know what? When you stay dating someone who is toxic, then you can't find the right person because you're caught up in unhealthy. Because unhealthy will attract unhealthy, toxic will attract toxic. So you have to clean up even your own thoughts and actions before you can even get into a healthy relationship. So you first of all have to know what healthy is, because if you're just in toxic relationship after relationship after relationship, you will marry toxic because you will be attracting that type of guy. And then you marry him because you have dated him. Because once again, we marry who we date. Okay. So that's not like a surprise there. And so many times people date because they shouldn't be, and then they marry because they think that they should. Don't let that be you. Date a guy that's going to be nice to you, be kind to you, be gentle with you. And just because you aren't sexually active, that doesn't mean you should not be thinking that, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me because he hasn't tried to have sex with me. Well, hey, you should be happy that he's not doing that, okay? Because that is a very great, wonderful sign of respect. Just because you date doesn't mean that you have to be fooling around even and doing things that you shouldn't be doing and doing things that really that married people do. Because guess what? Hey, if you're not married, then you should not be doing that. And if you have done that already, here's how you're going to find out if the guy really wants to be with you, because he's thinking, wow, you know what? I really like her. I actually think she could probably be the one I would spend the rest of my life with. If you have been sexually active and you say to him, you know what, I don't think we can do this anymore. Like, I cannot do that anymore. You are going to find out in a hurry if he's like, well, okay. Well, hey, what do you know? Look at the time. I guess I got to go. And then there's no contact ever again. And the only time he wants to be reaching out to you is because he wants to have more action from you. Hey, you're going to find out. Okay. If that's been your life right now, you're going to find that out. Also, if you are the kind of girl that you should be for that perfect guy, for your soulmates, first of all, is that even real? Y- Okay, I'm just going to flat out ask you that. Do you think that's really true? Your soulmate. Oh my gosh. I don't think that's even true. Okay. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think that that is a accurate, true thing. Finding your soul mate. Because so many times, right, you date and date and date, and you think that is the right person. That's your soulmate. And then how many other times has that soulmate been in your life? 5 different times. And a lot of times, I think when those terms and those words are thrown out there, girls, we do, you know what? We tend to be a little more like, oh, that's so romantic. That's just so sweet. That's just so, oh my gosh, look at that. I just love that. We want to hold on to those types of phrases. And because it makes us feel so great and wonderful. When in turn, what does that even mean? Is that soulmate really someone that you should be with right now? Because how are they treating you? And how are you treating them even? So that's why, when you're dating when you're younger, because hey, you know what, your brain is not fully developed, you're young, and sometimes dating just isn't something that maybe you should be doing. And if you are so jealous and insecure, that right there is a couple signs that, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be dating. It's okay that I don't have a relationship right now, because it is. This show is to help you, even if you are not in a relationship, or you are in one, you're not in one, you're thinking that you want to be, where you just aren't sure. This here is just going to help you, give you some guidelines in when you do get in relationships. In a relationship, okay? Not relationships, because you should not just be getting in all these relationships, all right? So usually, you know what? It should be one. And then that one person, then you think, wow, you know what? I really could spend the rest of my life with this person. I really would want to have his babies. And you might be thinking that right now, but hey, no, all right, no, not right now. Live some life, graduate, and then, think about that stuff. The person that you are needs to be someone that's going to be nice, respectful, but even nice to your boyfriend, because not the pushy and aggressive because you want to have your way and he better comply, or else he has what? Like, golly, right? He's got a high price to pay if he does not comply and give you whatever you want and do whatever you want. That should not be the way your relationship goes, because then as you do date, and then if you do marry him, the man is sucked out of him. The manhood is pushed down because you have been so pushy, because you have been so aggressively wanting your own way. And then when you marry him and you wonder why he doesn't stand up for anything, it's because you never let him. So that is not a healthy relationship. And that's how you know it isn't, is because if you feel that that is you right now, that's how you know that, wow, oh my golly, Shawna, I have been that way. I probably need to back off and not have to have my own way, because sometimes you're like, well, I don't even know what to do about it. Well, that's what you do. You let him speak up, you let him say some things, and you let him, guess what, lead you, and you let him have an opinion. And you actually listen to it and you go with what it is too, because it doesn't just have to be your way or no way. And then you threaten that you're going to break up because you aren't getting your way. That is, you know what, not healthy. Okay. It's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for him. It's not healthy for anyone. And maybe you are so used to getting your own way that you think, well, what other way is there? Well, hey, guess what? There is somebody else that has an opinion, and that you can actually listen to them. So if it's been all about you this whole time, you might need to back off and say, okay, well, hmm, I guess I do need to be a little different here. And then do, okay? Talk to him and say, gosh, hey, you know what? Have I been this way? But if you're going to ask, expect an answer. All right. And you might not like the answer. Then don't get mad about it. Then put on your big girl panties and listen and be like, okay, fight back those tears. I'm going to listen to that, and I'm going to take the constructive criticism and not be that way. Because sometimes a guy's not going to tell you if he knows, there's wrath to pay if he does tell you. And you asked, and then he tells you the truth, and then like you never want to talk to him again. And then you give him the silent treatment for 2 weeks. That's that's not good. Okay, that's just not good. All right. So other things, ladies, that yeah, you need to be nice and date someone that is nice, but not to the point where you just walk all over them, because that's not nice. And you should not want to be in a relationship like that where it's equal. You are the same. You have different opinions, that's all right, but you're moving in life together. You're moving in the same direction. That's what you want to be doing. If you are dating someone and they want to do this all the time and you want to do this, like for instance, that you don't party and drink and the person you're dating does, that right there is a split. And that's all that they want to do. And then they're trying to get you to do that. That should be a bye-bye breakup. That's where you don't compromise. All right. To where, okay, well, that's fine if he does that and that I don't. It's fine that he wants to drink or vice versa. It's fine that I drink and he doesn't. No, that's not fine. And not that I'm saying that you both should go and drink and party and do drugs and smoke and do all that stuff together. I'm not saying that either. Okay. That, well, hey, since one of us does, then I guess we both should. No, you should not. All right. Because that's definitely that's not a path that you want to be on. And even though people will say, well, you're only young once, that's right. Hey, you are only young once. And living that life definitely can take you down a road that you will look back and not want to be on. You might think it's fun right now. And hey, I'm not saying it isn't. Okay. I'm not saying that drinking and partying can't be fun. But at the end of the day and at the end of the road, when you look back and that has been what you did in high school and now you're still doing that and you're 60, then you would be thinking, wow, golly, I should have done some things a little bit different in my life. I should have listened to that lady, Shawna, on that show when she was talking about that lifestyle. God, I should have listened to her. Well, now you can, okay? And not every teenager has to drink and do drugs and have sex like some people think that they do, because no, you don't have to. I know some pretty awesome teenagers who don't live that life. And you know what? I got to tell you, they're not sad either. They're not depressed and lonely and hanging out in their bedroom for 100,000 hours and don't have anybody to talk to except for their phone. And that's it. And you know what? And when you don't and you become an adult, you definitely will not be sad that that was not your life. So, also, ladies, who you should be, okay? Yeah, you definitely want to be strong. And I'm not talking about muscles either, but mentally, okay? A lot of times, guys notice that girls are very insecure. And that is very true. And not that guys can't be either, but girls are insecure in a whole different way. So, when she has this relationship, she has a boyfriend, sometimes she thinks she needs a boyfriend that will make her feel better, and a lot of times it doesn't. And she still feels lonely. She feels even more insecure with the way the guy is talking to her and the way he treats her, whether it's good or bad. It's not the guy's responsibility to make you feel, okay, ladies, good about yourself. Now, I'm not saying that it's okay for the guy to treat you poorly and be rude and mean and call you names and tell you that you're fat. Yes, the guy should be nice to you and he should be, respectful. And it's okay for him to tell you that you're beautiful and that he really likes you, but you shouldn't just be saying that I love you within 2 days of dating and wonder why he hasn't said it and you want to say those things. And a lot of times you're saying that stuff because you're insecure. And hey, and I'm not saying that you are incapable of loving him or to be in love with him. I'm not even saying that, because you are very capable of that. Love is a choice. And sometimes we give our love to the wrong person. And then it makes us feel, yeah, like crap. When he doesn't have the same in return, he's not receiving or reciprocating the love back to you, because sometimes we have different views of what love is. And a lot of times, then girls will give up herself to show the guy that she loves him. And that is not love. And so many times she just is in the relationship because she wants to be loved. And so then she will give herself to show that guy that she loves him. And so many times then the guy, yeah, will take advantage of that. And not because he loves her. And I'm not saying that guys are incapable of love, because, yeah, they are capable of love too. It's just when you get in a relationship, and if you are dating or you're not dating, you're thinking about it, okay? you need to think about some things before you just jump into, just having this relationship, because sometimes, like I said, you think that that's going to make you feel better about you, and that's definitely not the case. Another thing, ladies, is girls, you know what? Sorry, you do some, and not every girl, okay, tend to be extremely jealous of other girls. And then you get mad, and this is both sides, okay? Guys, girls get mad because that you're talking to somebody else, like, and I just mean like the guy has been your friend for what, 10 years, and you grew up together, and it doesn't mean you want to date him, but the guy is jealous because you're talking to him. The girl is jealous because, why are you talking to her? You should not be talking to her. And see, with Snapchat, you know, they can send snaps and you don't even know, right? And they'll be talking to somebody and you don't even know about it. So then in turn, then that makes you even more jealous because you don't know. And because you're so insecure, then you are even more jealous. But girls do tend to be extremely jealous of each other and of other girls. And this can even be your best friend. That girls can be like this, is they are nice to each other here, but then when they're not around each other, they're going to talk crap about each other. And then that's their best friend. And because they're just so insecure and jealous, because that's what insecurity does, it produces jealousy. And then you start thinking that things are a way and they're not, because of the insecurity and because you become then so jealous of this girl. And then you start coaxing up things in your own head that are false. And then you do that in your relationship. And then the guy is trying to please you and trying to make you, feel better. And then that, see, is unhealthy. That then can breed toxic relationships because, hey, you know what? Sometimes teenagers are not ready to be in a relationship because now you have to maintain this other person. And when someone is so extremely insecure and jealous, that's hard, and it's hard for guys to deal with that and understand that because they're like, "Oh my holy smokes, man." They don't even know how to handle that because you don't even know how to handle it. So, hmm, that's sometimes a vicious cycle there. And then you get mad because the guy doesn't know. So you got to cut him some slack because guess what? He doesn't know because you barely know. So don't get mad at him for not knowing what you don't even know. Okay. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense to me, but it doesn't mean it does to you. So you can let me know that. All right, ladies, the type of guy that you should be looking for is someone that, yes, is going to respect you, going to respect your parents, going to be nice and kind to your family, period. All right. You want the guy to be nice to the people in your family. You should hang out with his family, your family, go to places together with other people in each other's family. All right. And maybe you don't have a big family. Maybe you don't even have any siblings or anything. You should be okay with then hanging out with just his mom and his dad, and you guys watch a movie at his house or something, and vice versa. That you then go to your house and watch a movie with you and your mom. All right. You need to then, I'm not saying like include your mom in everything you do. I don't mean like that because, yeah, that's kind of weird. Okay. I don't mean like that. But I do mean in the sense of it's okay for you to include your family, that you don't need to have all this time together. Because now that I'm dating, oh my gosh, we just need to be together. Why? No, you don't. Okay. We just need some time alone. No, you don't. All right. No, you don't. Because in that time alone, that is where things happen. Dun, dun, dun. And sometimes then you look back and you're like, I guess we shouldn't have done that. I wish we wouldn't have. And you cannot take back what you wish you wouldn't have done. So it's okay for you to spend time with people and adults and people that have your best interest. Because sometimes the teenagers that you hang out with, you know what? They don't care what you're doing with your newfound love. Because if you're not going to do it with them, then hey, guess what? I will. Ew. You know what? If that's how your friend is, you need to get rid of that friend because sad to say, that is sometimes how these so called friendships are, aren't they? So you definitely can watch some other shows here that's talking about some of these friendships that really aren't friends. So, ladies, think about the person that you want to be, okay? When you do date. Because it's not just about you and not just about getting your way and here's the person I want to date as long as they're doing whatever I want them to do. No, you should not be thinking like that. Just because your parents maybe do that for you and give you whatever you want and you should be however you want to be. No, I actually know some women who had a really hard time in their first I'm talking like 5 years of marriage because their dad had them so spoiled when they got married, they just thought their husband was going to do those things that their dad always did for them, and they had a really hard time in their marriage because their newfound husband did none of those things that her daddy did. So, um, that might be something you need to think about, okay? So if you're dating this person and you're finding like, gosh, he doesn't do any of those things. He's not even like this, well, either he doesn't know, so you might need to say to him, or it's just because you're just not mature enough to even have a relationship right now. And it's okay if you're not, all right? So I'm not saying this to like bash on you and be like, oh my gosh, you are just so immature. You don't even need a relationship. I'm just saying, hey, maybe you just aren't ready for one. But again, that's okay if you're not. It is totally okay to be single. It's okay that you don't have a boyfriend or that you even have a prospect or there's even someone that you even would think that you would even want to be your boyfriend. It's totally okay that you don't have that around you right now. Don't put so much pressure on yourself thinking that there's something wrong with you because you aren't in a relationship, because no, there is not anything wrong with you. And it's okay for you to have maybe even been in a relationship and now you're like, whew, that just, it took a lot out of me. Like, I don't even know who I am anymore. And I need to just recoup and find out who I am. I need to find out the person that I want to be. I need to find out who, what, I really would actually even want to date when I decide to do that again. So you're totally fine to be single. I've even known girls that would even wear a ring. So whether she was in high school or, because not all the guys know, how old you are, or whether in college, and she had the ring on their finger because they wanted to keep guys away because they're like, I don't want to date. So then, although sometimes guys, they see that ring, they're like, "Ooh, hey, I will date her because, well, several reasons. I'm not even going to talk about that right now. But anyway, sometimes girls have done that because it pushes a guy away from dating her because she's like, I don't want a boyfriend right now. It's okay to not have a boyfriend. There's nothing wrong with you. It's okay to be content with being single. There is nothing wrong with that. And even though you might be the only one without a relationship, without a boyfriend, you know what? Don't be sad about that because sometimes that is the best place to be. And some of these other girls that are in a relationship, it's not because they're always happy. It's just because they think that's what they're supposed to do. And I need to have a relationship because you know what? No, you don't. All right, ladies. No, you don't. No, you don't. So who do you want to be when you do then decide to date? Who is that person you want to be? Because you need to become that person now. So then if you know what, go to church, if you know Jesus, you should then want to be with a guy who knows Jesus also. Not just go to church. Who cares? But a guy that knows Jesus, because that guaranteed is going to make the biggest difference. If you know Jesus, you want to date someone that knows Jesus also. You don't want to date someone that does not know Jesus and then you're trying to save him and bring him to Jesus. No. Those kind of relationships don't generally last. There are a few people, a very, 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 very few people that she's going to date him. She's going to change him. She's going to bring him to the Lord because, see, so many times that's what girls want to do. They want to change the guy to be somebody that, what, he isn't and he doesn't want to be and wasn't meant to be. If you know Jesus, you need to be loving Jesus more. And then so you can date someone that loves Jesus also, so that you move in the same direction. That's what you want to be doing, not knowing Jesus and then you date someone who actually hates Jesus. That should definitely not be what you do. It's not because people don't do that, because they do. Then they marry this non-Jesus believer, and then their marriage is 10 times harder than what it actually should be. Well, he was a really nice guy. I really do love him. And he has these really strong points. Well, but hey, does he love Jesus? Not just know Jesus, okay? Because that's not even the same thing. Because what's the Bible say? Even the demons know Jesus. Even the demons shudder at the name of Jesus, but that doesn't mean that they love Jesus, okay? No, they don't. So you, ladies, if you go to church, you are this Christian, and now do you love Jesus yourself? Because if you don't, then you need to put the brakes, and then you need to be getting more in love with Jesus, letting him be the man, the first man in your life. Because, golly, I got to tell you, that's going to make a huge difference in how your whole relationship will be. That you love Jesus, the guy you start dating loves Jesus, leads you in Jesus, with Jesus, to Jesus, and then you get married. Your relationship is going to be awesome. And you, seriously, I guarantee you there will not be a single regret in your whole life, your marriage, with your children, because you took the time then to, find that guy that loves Jesus with you, not one that you tried to conform and make him love Jesus, because that doesn't work out very well. And then, you know what happens a lot of times? You end up getting mad at God because that guy didn't come alongside of you. So then you lose your relationship with God and with Jesus, because you're mad now, because of what you did, not because of what God did, but you're mad at God, you're mad at Jesus for what your actions were, and not get mad at yourself to be like, man, I shouldn't have done that. Because that's what we do. We need to blame somebody, and we generally blame God for our own actions. But we definitely get mad at Jesus, and we get mad at him, and we turn away from him and go a whole different direction, because Jesus really didn't comply with us, and he didn't comply with what we wanted. So then we get mad, and then we turn away and we go the other direction. So when God maybe was giving you the warning signs, it's, like, "Whir, whir, whir," and these big whistles going off, but you ignored it because you wanted your way. And now you are in a relationship that it's hard to get out of now. So that's definitely something that you want to be thinking about, okay, ladies? And hey, that's not just for ladies. This is for guys too. Guys will tend to do that as well. But you know what? I actually see a lot more girls being that way than guys. And here's how I see it in the guy. The guy may he may know Jesus, but he's not leading her to Jesus. He's just having fun. He's just living life. He's just out there roaming around doing whatever he wants. And then, see, it's the same thing, because then when he gets married, then maybe he's going to be convicted in his heart, like, golly, God, I haven't even been following you, haven't been doing these things. And now, maybe she doesn't even know that he even had relationship with Jesus at one point. And then she's like totally shocked. Wow, what are you doing? Why are you reading your Bible? Why are you wanting to go to church more? Where she's like, who are you? When all along that was somebody that you were, but then turned away from, and then you're trying to come back to that. And the person that you're maybe now married to is like, what is going on here? Because I've known relationships actually that when the person got saved, and so this some of these people were, none of them knew God, none of them had a relationship with Jesus, and then one of them actually got saved, and then you know what, they ended up getting divorced because the other person, the spouse, then could not handle it and was so like, what is going on here? uh this is not going to be my life, and then they end up getting divorced. So, you know what? Those things happen. But even sometimes the person does know Jesus, okay, and then it's like, okay, it's a secret. And then when they get married, then they're wanting this other person to come alongside of them with Jesus. And they're like, who's Jesus? What are you even talking about? What? Why are you suddenly this person? And then they're like, well, you know what? I used to go to church and I was this person. Then I actually stopped doing this. It's like, well, why? When you're not going in the same direction, okay, then you're just going to make your life a lot easier if you go in the same direction and not try to drag that other person along with you and then get mad because they don't follow you and they don't follow along and then they don't follow Jesus and you want to love Jesus and they don't want to love Jesus. You're putting a giant wedge between you and Jesus. Hey, okay, because that should be your first love is Jesus. So again, these are all just things to think about. All right. And um, I hope that you are getting something out of this show today for ladies. But again, it doesn't have to just be for the ladies because guys, you do need to pay attention to, who you are dating and you got to pay attention to, hey, who you want to be as well. Okay. Because that's not just for girls. This is just, hey, in general, who do you want to be? What kind of husband do you want to be? What kind of wife do you want to be? What kind of mom do you want to be? Because most of you will want children. And you know what? That's a good thing. That's not bad. And even though you might not see a good marriage, you might not see a good relationship. And I knew this couple. So they dated in high school and then they broke up at one point. And he was the one that was so scared to get married. She, of course, wanted to get married, so now they're out of high school. And so, of course, I'm talking to them because I know both of them. So I'm like, hey, like, what is it? What's the deal? Like, why don't you want to marry her? What is the deal? So he is just saying, I don't want to because I saw my parents. I don't want to have that same relationship that my parents had. And then I told him, well, you know what? You already don't. You don't have the same relationship as your parents already. So you should not let that stop you from marrying her. And guess what? They got married and they even have a baby. So that is so awesome. And I got to tell you, they have a great marriage because what they had was real. It was genuine. They weren't just dating just to date. They actually, loved each other. So don't let what your parents have and what you see from someone else, don't let that stop you from actually even getting married, from even having a great relationship. Because if you see a bad relationship, okay, that doesn't mean that's going to be you. So don't even put that on yourself. And if you have, your parents and they have a great relationship, hey, that is fantastic. Listen to them. Listen to what they say to you and the things that they're telling you. And if they're trying to give you some advice, you know what? You should be listening to what they say. And if it's in a situation to where one of you, the person that you are maybe dating right now, one family has a really good, example and the other family doesn't, it's okay for you to listen, all right, to the parents that have this really good relationship. Now, I'm not talking perfect because nobody has a perfect relationship and you might think that it looks perfect, but you do need to, what, listen to your parents, all right? Um and a lot of times even if your parents don't have this great relationship, but they're trying to give you some advice that's going to help you, hey, be smart enough and listen to it. Listen to what they're saying to you because most of the time your parents have your best interest and they do want you to have better than what they have. They want your relationship to be even better. Maybe they've been divorced. Maybe they are divorced. Maybe they're remarried. All of these different things, okay? And they're trying to give you some direction. They're trying to just even pour into you. You know what? Listen to what they're saying. I'm sure they're going to welcome questions that you might have, especially if they're the ones asking you some things, you know? And if you ask them some questions, I'm sure that they will want to have the conversation with you. So do, okay? Have the conversation and listen to your parents when they're trying to help you and guide you in dating. And even if you're not dating right now, but you're maybe thinking that you might, I might want to date, eventually. But you know what? Be the person that you want to be with. Be dateable. Be marryable. And I don't mean just like, well, I'm a pretty good person. I'm all right, because hey, it doesn't mean you're not, but it doesn't mean that you're ready to be in a relationship, okay? And again, be okay with that because it's all right. Give yourself some permission, give yourself some room here, and cut yourself some slack. It's okay if you are 13 years old and you don't have a relationship. It's okay if you're 19 and you don't have a relationship and all of the in between. All right. But that doesn't mean that you should be doing friends with benefits, doesn't mean you should be giving some action to someone. All right. So you definitely should be saving married things for married days. So I just want to say I think that's going to be our show for today. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you in the next Talking to Teens show.